You know there's a huge story brewing when a top federal official gets yanked from a major city, right in the middle of protests over a fatal shooting. Today, we're going to break down exactly what went down in Minneapolis, where the official story from the government went head-to-head with what people were seeing with their own two eyes.
Glad to see him go. Wow, that was the reaction from Minnesota's own Attorney General Keith Ellison. I mean, talk about a blunt statement. It just perfectly captures the tension in the city, right? But who was he talking about? And why was he so happy to see them leave? Let's get into it.
And this is really the core question of this whole thing. It is a huge deal to have a high-ranking federal chief basically forced out of a major American city. So to figure out why it happened, we've got to go back and trace the events that led up to this breaking point. Okay, first up, let's talk about the news that really kicked everything into high gear. This chief's very sudden exit.
So this is Gregory Bovino. He's the top Border Patrol official who was sent into Minneapolis along with 2,000 armed agents. The announcement that he was leaving was, well, it was abrupt. He was supposed to be gone within 24 hours. And it turns out reports were saying that even officials in the administration were getting frustrated with him. To understand why, we got to rewind just a little bit.
So this whole firestorm really started with the shooting death of a Minneapolis resident named Alex Prey. His death became this massive flashpoint, mostly because of the official story that came out almost immediately after it happened.
So who exactly was Alex Prey? Well, he was a 37-year-old ICU nurse, he worked at a local VA hospital, he was a resident of Minneapolis, and he was a lawful gun owner with a permit to carry. Now, you really need to keep these facts in mind because they are in direct opposition to the official narrative that started to get pushed right after his death.
And that brings us right to the heart of this conflict, the moment the official story just started to completely fall apart. Just look at this slide. It lays out the two competing realities perfectly. On one side, you've got the official claims. Prey was an assassin who committed an act of domestic terrorism. But then, you look at the evidence. Video shows he was holding a cell phone. We know he was an ICU nurse. The difference between these two stories isn't just a gap, it's a canyon.
Yeah, and this disconnect was so bad that it started sparking criticism from some pretty unexpected places. This quote from the New York Post's editorial board really sums it up perfectly. You just can't keep telling people to ignore what they're seeing for themselves.
And it wasn't just the New York Post, not by a long shot. The Wall Street Journal and the Free Press also published some really harsh critiques. It got to the point where even some Republican officials started publicly questioning the administration's aggressive tactics, basically asking, hey, where's the evidence for calling this guy a domestic terrorist?
So while the media and all the folks in Washington were debating all this, what was happening back in Minneapolis? Well, the city just erupted. And I mean erupted. We're talking more than 50,000 people taking to the streets. This was not some small protest. This was a massive, citywide demonstration of public anger. And this just shows you the level of commitment. People were out there marching in 9 below zero weather. Can you imagine? All with one passionate demand: get the federal agents out of our city. So when the news came out that Chief Bovino was being removed, you might think people would feel better, but this quote really captures the mood. For a lot of folks, it was just too little, too late. The problem wasn't just about one person in charge, they wanted all the federal agents gone. So, with all that public pressure, and their main story just collapsing, the administration was forced to do a complete 180. Let's take a look at how they responded.
Okay, so the administration took some pretty clear steps to try and manage the fallout. First, they sidelined Chief Bovino, got him out of there. Second, they brought in a new lead, a guy named Tom Homan. And third, and this is a big one, the White House started to publicly back away from those labels like domestic terrorist and assassin.
This statement right here signaled a complete reversal. After days of these really aggressive claims, the new message coming from the White House was all about patience and respecting the investigation. It was a pretty dramatic shift in tone, and you can tell it was designed to de-escalate the whole crisis.
So, here we are. We're left with this big, looming question. Yes, the administration changed the person at the top, but for the people of Minneapolis, the real question is whether this is going to lead to an actual change in tactics on the ground, or if it's really just a change in the headlines. And that's something we'll have to wait and see.